Hello, everybody, and welcome to another one in our series, Breaking Down Barriers. My name is Chris Igwe, and we are going through or inspired by this book that I wrote, which is called Breaking Down Barriers, My Journey from a Small African Village to the World Stage. In this particular section or chapter, I want to talk about the complex and diverse world that we live in, and some of the things that you need to be more conscious of, more aware of. This particular chapter is entitled, Be Cautious About People's Color or Origins. Be cautious about people's color or origins. Now, we live in a world that is full of complexities. It could be inevitably color, ethnicity, sexual orientation. We have Black Lives Matter and that movement that has been going on for a few years now. You've got the LGBT community and everything that revolves around that. You have same-sex marriage. You have education. You have culture. You have background. You have so many aspects to think about. Way more than when I was growing up as a child. So what I wanted to highlight out of this is, as I said, unless you have an open mind, we are likely to draw the wrong conclusions about people. And sometimes they can have terrible consequences. Because at the end of the day, what I would like us to do is to remember that the person or the people that you have in front of you, there are two key words: human being or human beings. What I mean by that, I encourage you, I implore you to look for the human in the person that is in front of you, because they are a being. And the moment you can put those two words together, it has even more significance, because you're seeing the person for whom he or she is. Not everything else that surrounds them, not everything else that is causing this blur, this confusion, this belief, especially when you get involved with groups and individuals who don't share your point of view. You become tainted, you become impacted, you become someone who sees the life and the world through someone else's lenses. What are your lenses telling you? What are you looking for? What are you looking for in other people? What do you want other people to look for in you? And I can sit here and I can say this, and at different points through my book, there are different experiences. I talk about unconscious bias in another chapter. These are all my own experiences. These are things that have happened to me. Because you see, as I've said before, and I'll continue to say, I was born black. I was born black. So there's nothing that I can do to change that. And there is nothing that anybody else can say or do to me today. As I was growing up, it was a different thing. But based on my own experience, my own knowledge, my own insights, my own feelings, my own emotions, I'm at a place where I am impenetrable. You cannot and you will not get through to me based on my color or anything else. Thankfully, I'm well educated. My parents did a fantastic job for all of us 4 children. We went on to become, basically a doctor, an engineer, that's me, a brother a lawyer, another brother an accountant. So they gave us the best education possible. So at least eliminating one aspect where you were looked down on. Because nobody can look you in the eye or look me in the eye and say to me that they are better than I am. They can say it, but it won't affect me. Because that is not a measure of who you are. But you just have to be careful how you see and relate and connect with other people, or don't, as the case may be. Now, like I say, this is a complex issue, difficult to break it down in a few minutes. But a personal example in the business world, where I was we were about 10 in my company from different parts of Europe. We came together, we had a meeting with a global brand. because my main theme or area, if you like, of expertise is in retail and retail real estate, advising major global brands primarily, but also smaller companies in terms of how to develop their retail footprint or solve their retail problems. So this global brand, who I will not name, approached us. We had a meeting, and it was very clear. These are senior executives. If I said the brand, you would just go, wow, couldn't imagine that, but that's fine. 3 senior VPs from memory who came and had that meeting with us. And it was as if they were on this mission to subtly, and later on in the meeting, not so subtly, identify me as being the black person in the room with whom they clearly either had an issue or something. There was just stuff going on. Even my colleagues couldn't believe the way they were knocking down when I came in and said, because I know my market, I know my stuff. And I was telling them how it should be, and they were like, oh, you don't know, and whatever. But it was the tone, it was the look, it was the attitude. Now, like I say, it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me to the extent that I will not allow anybody to look down on me. I will not allow anybody to denigrate me in any way, shape, or form. Now, obviously, if it gets to a higher level and written and whatever, then which is inappropriate, then I will take it to another level. But the point is that I can just brush it off as one key word for me in this sort of scenario is it's ignorance. Those individuals and others who I've met are ignorant. Now, that's a strong word, but I use it very carefully, and I use it to make a point. Because ignorance is the worst thing that you can possibly have, because it blinds you completely. To my point about seeing people as human beings, seeing people for who they are, you've got to open your mind. You've got to expose yourself to what that person is thinking, where they're coming from, what they're saying, what they're thinking, why they are who they are. Learn from their experience to enrich yours. And only when you can do that can you then start on this path of greater discovery, path of enlightenment, if you like, because you go, I didn't know that. Oh, wow, that's news to me. Where you are open to the idea of, let me explore this. Let me find ways in which this can help them and this can help me. Because in any interaction, in any experience, especially in the diverse and complex world we live in, if we can't spend time understanding each other, I don't know where the world is going to go. I'd hate to say there is no future, but that would be rather stark and bleak for someone like me who is an optimist, and I believe there is always a way forward, there is always a solution. So, back to the book. Ole Joseph, who actually is a Nigerian author who I quote in here, says, diversity is not about how we differ. Diversity is not about how we differ. Diversity is about embracing one another's uniqueness. Because we are unique. We are unique. There are things that nobody else knows, has experienced, because each person's journey is their own. You may come from the same country, the same village, the same background, but you take different paths. People from my village in Nigeria, some are very successful, some are less successful. Children born into the same home, some are hugely successful, some are not successful. Some go on to have great careers, others struggle. Why is that? Because we are unique. We have our own paths that either we choose or we choose to accept, because those are external influences on our behavior. So you can either choose or you choose to accept. It's different. I choose to go in this direction. I choose to believe that we are all equal under the eyes of God, that we all have the same chances to be something in ourselves. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people who are born into very challenging situations, whether poverty, starvation. I can identify with many of those. So, like I say, I'm where I am today, but that is part of what this book is about, is to say there is a path, providing you choose it. Or if not, you choose to accept whatever the world is going to bestow on you, positive or negative. And so here in the critical thinking question, here's a question that I ask you. Because critical thinking questions, for those not familiar with it, is where the question is not one that can be answered from the outside. They have to be answered by you. You need to do some internalization to ask and answer the questions, struggle with them, unwrap them, unpack them, find the answers, which today may be this, and then in a year or 5 years' time may be different. We are always growing. So here's the question. Knowing that we can hurt others without meaning to, how will you be more sensitive to such situations? So if you accept, I accept that you can hurt others without meaning to. So with that knowledge, how will you be more sensitive to such situations? How will you be more sensitive to such situations? And that's the key. We are, like I said, in a complex world. We are in an environment. I have a mixed marriage. My wife is from Scotland, I'm from Nigeria. We've raised children into a world where you may think it's easier, but it's not easier for them, just as it's not easy for us. Then other aspects that I mentioned at the beginning of this video where relationships could be impacted by color, by religion, by ethnicity, by sexual orientation, and so on and so on and so on. Make the list for yourself. Use that as your own list of things or people you know. Look at people in your environment and you say, oh, not sure about him or her, and why have I behaved this way, or how could I change my behavior towards somebody by accepting their uniqueness and accepting them for who they are. And maybe the flip side is that you are, like me, you're in one of these buckets, branches, groups, color, ethnicity, sexual orientation, whatever it happens to be. How do you feel, and how are you going to change your attitude towards that or towards them? So yeah, heavy questions, but I'm sure that you can handle them. I hope that this has resonated with you, left you with some thoughts and ideas. Please feel free to go away, ponder them, think about them, review them, see how they fit into your own life, and what can you do? The key is always, how can I be better? How can I improve? Until the next time, I wish you all the very best. Thank you.